Hi everyone, this is Tina with Dirt Therapy, and today I am taking some refuge in the shade and I'm going to plant some hostas. Now, granted, this is midsummer, almost the end of June, not the ideal time to plant hostas, but I need to get them in the ground, and it's better that they go in the ground rather than just sitting in a pot. So I am going to go ahead and get them planted today. I also have some miscellaneous other things to do, such as tying up my Zephyrine Geranium. The roses kind of have taken over the pathway and I need to get them back up. I didn't want to do anything with those until it was done blooming, because the blooms were so beautiful and they smelled so good, and I just couldn't bring myself to touching the roses, and then something happened and all the petals fall off, which is what was happening when I had first attempted to do it. So I didn't want to disrupt it anymore, and I just wanted to be able to enjoy all of the flowers and the scents, because every time you walked by that area it smelled so wonderful. I just couldn't bring myself to tying them up. I also have some other cleaning to do, maintenance, and I'm going to take you along with me on that. It is really a bucket list of things, because we are in the thick of the heat and humidity here. So I will be wearing my sunglasses today, and so if you see me on film, I'm going to be wearing my sunglasses. Traditionally, I can't go do any type of gardening without my sunglasses on, because they really do help protect my eyes as well. And so I am going to just take you along with me while I'm working on the projects, because I'm not going to be able to do anything tomorrow. We're looking at a heat advisory. We're supposed to get temperature wise up to 98 degrees, but with the humidity that we have in our area, and yeah, unfortunately it's a Midwest thing. Well, I'm sure that there's a lot of people who have the humidity, but it seems like it's never ending heat in the Midwest. But so tomorrow is going to be a heat index of 110. So it's going to feel like 110, even though it's only going to be 97 degrees tomorrow. So we have to work when we can. The location of the hostas that I'm going to plant is going to be underneath this bench. Now, as you can see, this is a pretty shaded area, and it will stay shaded for most of the day. So I thought that this would be a really good place for having the hostas. Now, typically this area does get some sun in the morning, as you can see from the Julia Childs and Blue Muffin over there in that corner. It does get plenty of sunlight there, but in this area here it doesn't, because you've got the house that is kind of helping as it's closer to our home, and the grapes above us in our grape pergola are really working on keeping it shaded for most of the time. We're going to go ahead and get these planted. I'm going to move the bench out, and then I'm going to work on digging in this space. Well, I got them all planted, and I wanted to leave enough room for them to really touch each other. I want it to fill in like my other hostas do. So I planted another one outside of the bench where the Julia Childs is, because it's going to shade it a little bit, and then the bench is going to help shade the rest of the way. And then I left a little space in between the bench feet and the hostas, because they're really going to fill in. It's going to look really pretty once it is all filled in. Right now the hostas don't look amazing. We had a hailstorm that brought us golf ball size hail, so you can see some of them got some hail damage and got shredded. So they're not the prettiest right now, but they're still healthy and they're still going to do fabulous in this area. They're gonna just love it. I had, before I planted the Julie Childs over here, I did have some hostas, and they did really great in this area. So I'm not too worried about these ones. They're gonna just thrive. And then we're gonna come in and we're gonna mulch this whole area. So this is our grapevine area, and so I can just kind of like pan up and show you all of the beautiful grapes. This is our fountain area. The birds really love our fountain area. Not a care in the world. So don't be afraid to plant in the middle of summer. Just make sure that they have plenty of water, because flowers can have transplant shock. So you can get it in the container at your local garden center and you can bring it home, and it will probably show some signs of stress. But it's better to get them in the ground than it is to leave them in the container, because those containers, if you are a shopper like me, typically they're black or brown, and that is just too much heat for the roots to be able to handle. So definitely better to get them in the ground than it is to leave them in their own container that they came in. A few years ago, when we were building the garden avenue, we had to wait until the retaining wall was completed before we could come in and start building our garden beds and the gravel pathway and the concrete border. And when it was time for planting, we had gotten everything ready, the wall was done. We immediately hit a 104-degree temperature week. It was like a whole week of over 100 plus, and it was in the end of June when this heat wave hit. And I had all of these different plants that I had picked up that I was going to plant in Garden Avenue. I had a whole bunch of things that were from the original garden that I was holding on to and trying to make them happy. I had a whole bunch of plants. I had like a cloth over them to try to keep them happy and not too hot and stressed out. Had to water them regularly, and so once I got them in, I was like really upset, because about 2 weeks in, they just looked like they were so stressed out, and I was afraid that I was going to lose my whole garden. In fact, I was telling my husband, I'm like, I don't know how much is going to survive. He said, don't worry, it's going to be fine. And sure enough, what you see in the garden now, 3 years later, is what I had planted. So just remember, just as long as you water them really good, give them a good way to start. Put your fertilizer in your holes when you go to plant your items. That will really help them grow from the roots down. And then if you don't see the growth at the top, it's okay. The first year when you plant something, it's not gonna look the most beautiful that it is. It takes about 3 years for it to really just start looking really, really beautiful. So don't fret over planting it. Just make sure it has plenty of water. So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Have a great garden day.